characteristics. There's mystery. The Supreme Lord, he manifests his universal form. And then there's a lot of scholarly Sanskrit words. This is spoken in the Sanskrit language, again, 5,000 years ago. And in each verse, if we read Bhagavad Gita, there will be word-for-word meanings, English equivalents, then a translation, then a purport, and also the original Devanagari. So it's a very scholarly presentation. And since there are at least maybe around 1965, there was more than 700 translations of Bhagavad Gita. So once this American lady asked the question, why another translation of Bhagavad Gita if there's already maybe 700 and now there's probably thousands? And the answer given was is that we're living in Kali Yuga, a very dangerous age where it's very easy for somebody to think, oh, I'm a Sanskrit scholar, I'm a great politician, I'm some kind of a school teacher. But in the Bhagavad Gita, the way the Sanskrit is arranged is that if somebody has their own personal ideas and they speak from Bhagavad Gita, it's very possible for somebody to put in their own ideas and claim it's the way what Krishna spoke. So in almost all these translations, the personality of Godhead has been minimized. The actual potency and power of Bhagavad Gita has been set aside. And even in some cases, the personality of Krishna has been killed, so to speak, by the speaker. Sometimes somebody may say, Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra, there's 5 Pandavas. They may say the 5 Pandavas represent the 5 senses, ears, eyes, nose, and so on. But it doesn't say that in Bhagavad Gita. So the answer to what we ask, why another translation of Bhagavad Gita as it is presented because so many other interpretations have minimized the actual purpose of Bhagavad Gita. So the purpose is given there to bring us, to help us on the path back home, back to Godhead. Because we've been suffering in this material world from birth, death, old age, and disease. We have a problem, and therefore we come together for spiritual association, chanting the holy names, the various pujas. So I will begin reading chapter 1, text 1. Again, for a couple of days we could spend just on the introduction. We're going to find in Bhagavad Gita many things are talked about. There are 5 basic subject matters. There's time, karma, material nature, the jiva soul, and Bhagavan. So of all of these are temporary, except the jiva soul and Bhagavan. Material activities are also temporary. Sometimes this whole universe will be bound up again in Vishnu's body. Time is a type of duration of existence of the whole universe. So there's all these different subject matters which will be spoken about. First, I'll begin on chapter 1, text 1. Dharma Dhritarashtra Vacha. Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Sambhaveta Yutsavaha. Mama Kapandavaschaiva Kima Korvita Sanjaya. Translation. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after assembling in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do, being desirous to fight? So here we find a type of conversation going on back in Delhi, where the kingdom was, the palace was. And the question is raised naturally, how was Sanjaya, a student of Vyasadeva, able to relate what is going on the battlefield if he's many miles away? If somebody has some kind of a convention in downtown Dallas, and we're here in, I guess you call this Lake Highlands, North Dallas, how are we going to know what's going on far away? Well, here, the answer is that Sanjaya, he has a special power. Again, he is a student of Vyasadeva, and sometimes people have yogic powers like to become smaller than the smallest, Laghima, Anima, bigger than the greatest, maybe even to create a whole planet. These yogi powers are very great. And Sanjaya had this power that he could see in his heart, kind of like a spiritual television, what was going on, I don't know, 100 miles away, some duration of way at Kurukshetra. If you go to North India, Kurukshetra is, I don't know, 2 or 3, 4 hours drive from Delhi, a couple hours. It's some duration of distance. And on this battlefield, the Pandavas were on one side and the Kurus were on one side. So originally, they were all one family, the Kurus. But when this political diplomacy and attempt to disinherit the Pandavas from their rightful kingdom or any land whatsoever, then the family split up, so to speak, the Kurus and the Pandavas. So Dhritarashtra said, "O Sanjaya, after assembling the pace of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do, being desirous to fight?" I forgot to mention one thing, that this is Bhagavad Gita as it is. I'm reading from this Bhagavad Gita because it's not based upon what we spoke about before, personal interpretations or ambitions of various scholars. Purport. Bhagavad Gita is a widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatmya, glorification of the Gita. There it says that one should read Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly, with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna, and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. The example of clear understanding is there in the Bhagavad Gita itself, in the way the teaching is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Gita directly from the Lord. If someone is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad Gita in that line of disciplic succession, without motivated interpretation, then he surpasses all studies of Vedic wisdom in all scriptures of the world. One will find the Bhagavad Gita, all that is contained in other scriptures, but the reader will also find things which are not to be found elsewhere. That is a specific standard of the Gita. It is a perfect theistic science because it is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. The topics discussed by Dhritarashtra in Sanjaya, as described in the Mahabharata, form the basic principle for this great philosophy. It is understood that this philosophy evolved on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is a sacred place of pilgrimage from time immemorial of the Vedic age. It was spoken by the Lord when he was present personally on this planet for the guidance of mankind. Now, the word Dharma Kshetra, a place where religious rituals are performed, is significant because on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present on the side of Arjuna. Dhritarashtra, the father of the Kurus, was highly doubtful about the possibility of his son's ultimate victory. In his doubt, he inquired from his secretary Sanjaya, "What did my sons and the sons of Pandu do?" He was confident that both his sons and the sons of his younger brother Pandu were assembled in that field of Kurukshetra for a determined engagement of the war. Still, his inquiry is significant. He did not want a compromise between the cousins and brothers, and he wanted to be sure of the fate of his sons on the battlefield, because the battle was arranged to be fought at Kurukshetra, which is mentioned elsewhere in the Vedas as a place of worship, even for the denizens of heaven. Dhritarashtra became very fearful about the influence of the holy place on the outcome of the battle. He knew very well that this would influence Arjuna and the sons of Pandu favorably, because by nature they were all virtuous. Sanjaya was a student of Vyas, and therefore, by the mercy of Vyas, Sanjaya was able to envision the battlefield of Kurukshetra, even while he was in the room of Dhritarashtra. And so Dhritarashtra asked him about the situation on the battlefield. So one thing mentioned here is that this place, Kurukshetra, is a religious, spiritual place where so many sacrifices have been taking place since time immemorial. It means thousands and millions of years. So this place is considered very spiritual. And Dhritarashtra, thinking that he and his sons are not virtuous, and all the Pandavas are virtuous, there would be some kind of a conflict going on. Matter of fact, the conflict was that Dhritarashtra wanted his sons to be victorious. But he was fearful that because of this spiritual place, and because he knew Krishna was also on the other side, he was fearful that his sons would lose. And he was scared that the spiritual influence of this place would negatively affect his sons, the Kurus. So this place is called Dharmakshetra. Dharmakshetra Kurukshetra Samaveta Yutsavaha. It was a very special place. So Dhritarashtra, he is doubtful what is going to happen. Even though the Kurus have more soldiers, even Krishna's army is on their side. They had different kind of, let's just say, dialogue as to how this would take place, but there were more soldiers on one side. And on the other side, there are fewer soldiers. But he was worried that the spiritual influence of this place would negatively affect his sons, the Kurus. Both the Pandavas and the sons of Dhritarashtra belonged to the same family. But Dhritarashtra's mind is disclosed herein. He deliberately claimed only his sons as Kurus, and he separated the sons of Pandu from the family heritage. One can thus understand the specific position of Dhritarashtra in his relationship with his nephews, the sons of Pandu. As in the paddy field, the unnecessary plants are taken out. So it is expected from the very beginning of these topics that in the religious field of Kurukshetra, where the father of religion, Sri Krishna, was present, the unwanted plants like Dhritarashtra's son Duryodhana and others would be wiped out, and the thoroughly religious persons headed by Yudhishthira would be established by the Lord. This is the significance of the words Dharmakshetra and Kurukshetra, apart from their historical and Vedic importance. So the Bhagavad Gita is in the middle of the Mahabharata. Kind of like you have a sandwich. A piece of bread over here, a piece of bread over there, and in the middle is a different kind of cheese, lettuce, so on. So what's in the middle is very important. So the Mahabharata is very, very long, 100,000 verses. It's very, very long. And the history is mentioned there. But in the middle is the Bhagavad Gita being spoken. The question is, what did Dhritarashtra and his sons do that was so evil against the Pandavas? And the answer is that the Pandavas were actually, according to the rules and regulations of inheritance, supposed to be the inheritors of the kingdom. So they were disinherited. And what did the Kurus do in order to offend them? They tried to poison Bhima. They tried to burn them up in a house of Shalak. These are described in all this long story of the Mahabharata. They tried in so many ways to kill Arjuna, Yudhishthira, Nakula, Sahadev, these 5 Pandavas. So that is what we mean by inauspicious acts, evil acts against the Pandavas. The Pandavas were the rightful inheritors of the kingdom, and due to envy and pride and arrogance, Dhritarashtra said, I want my sons to be the inheritors. Just like we see in different kind of, maybe our own families possibly, or movies, you see someone is supposed to get some kind of inheritance or property. Like in India, property is very, very valuable. If you have an acre, 2 acres, 5 acres, it's very, very valuable. And commonly someone will do something unfriendly or maybe even illegal to change the inheritance to where a certain person owns the property. So this is what is going on here. And we're not talking about property. We're talking about the whole kingdom. And the king in Delhi or Hastinapur, they were kind of in control of the whole planet. It was a big inheritance or big responsibility of the king. Maybe there were kings in other places, but the kings were subservient. They were, what's the word? They were vassal. Okay, there you go, sir. They were subservient to the major king. So there may be a lot of kings, but the king in Delhi was the chief, and a lot of times the different other kings, they had to give different kind of taxes, because the big army would protect the small kingdoms. So the different taxes were necessary to be paid. Anybody can ask any questions anytime they like, or objections. But we'll go on to text number 2, okay? Sanjayu Vacha, Drisvatu Pandipandikam, Vyudam Duryodhanastada, Acharyam Upasangamya, Rajana Vajanam Abravit. Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army gathered by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and began to speak the following words. Purport. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was sure that they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. Still, he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage. And Sanjaya could understand his motive in asking about the situation on the battlefield. He wanted, therefore, to encourage the despondent king, and thus he warned him that his sons were not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of the holy place. Sanjaya therefore informed the king that his son Duryodhana, after seeing the military force of the Pandavas, at once went to the commander-in-chief, Dronacharya, to inform him of the real position. Although Duryodhana is mentioned as the king, he still had to go to the commander on account of the seriousness of the situation. He was therefore quite fit to be a politician. But Duryodhana's diplomatic veneer could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military arrangement of the Pandavas. So I'm describing here how it is explained in text number 2 of Bhagavad Gita. If someone wants to really learn Bhagavad Gita, you have to also study this on your own at home. But I'm just going through this in a very simple way. So the Pandavas were all virtuous. They were pious since birth. So Dhritarashtra isn't asking about the battlefield situation. And Duryodhana is seeing that he has more soldiers on his side, and great warriors like Bhishma Dev, Dronacharya, who steal the formation, the battlefield arrangement. The phalanxes go at different angles. It's a physical arrangement of the different armies. And so Duryodhana is asking his commander-in-chief, look at this formation of these battlefield. They're so beautiful formation. They must be very strong and formidable. And here we are, we should be worried about this. And we're going to find in the next following verses, Dronacharya, the military commander of the Kuru side, it was arranged that there was a fire sacrifice made, and his relative Vishtajumna was given to the other side, and he arranged all these wonderful military phalanxes. So they're worried about this. It said here, Sanjaya therefore informed the king that his son Duryodhana, after seeing the military force of the Pandavas, at once went to the commander-in-chief, Dronacharya, to inform him of the real position. Although Duryodhana is mentioned as the king, he still had to go to the commander on account of the seriousness of the situation. He was therefore quite fit to be a politician. But Duryodhana's diplomatic veneer could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military arrangement of the Pandavas. Text 3. Vashaitam Pandaputranam Acharya Matim Chamum, Vyudam Drupada Putrena, Tavashishena Dimata. Do you all like how we explain the Bhagavad Gita? Do you like this study of Bhagavad Gita? Is it helpful? If I come here and explain Bhagavad Gita, I'm simply happy if everybody makes more spiritual advancement. Already you're chanting many mantras, you're worshiping the Supreme Lord as Lord Shiva, Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman, the different devatas. So already you're doing so much. So I simply am happy for all the people who want to make more spiritual advancement and understand the philosophy behind all the activities. Text 3. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Purport. Duryodhana, a great diplomat, wanted to point out the defects of Dronacharya, the great Brahmin commander-in-chief. Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Drupada, the father of Draupadi, who was Arjuna's wife. As a result of this quarrel, Drupada performed a great sacrifice by which he received the benediction of having a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya knew this perfectly well, and yet as a liberal Brahmin, he did not hesitate to impart all his military secrets when the son of Drupada, Dhristadyumna, was entrusted to him for military education. And now on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Dhristadyumna took the side of the Pandavas, and it was he who arranged for their military phalanx, after having learned the art from Dronacharya. Duryodhana pointed out this mistake of Dronacharya's, so that he might be alert and uncompromising in the fighting. By this he wanted to point out also that he should not be similarly lenient in battle against the Pandavas, who were also Dronacharya's affectionate students. Arjuna especially was his most affectionate and brilliant student. Dronacharya also warned that such leniency in the fight would lead to defeat. So there's also considered different types of varnas in society. Anywhere you look, you're going to find a certain class of people who are the educated class of people. There are high school teachers, college teachers, Brahmins, spiritual advisors, and these Brahmins have a certain type of qualities to their personality and character. They have to be very truthful, in general, simple, and devoid of all the different type of aspects like you would find in the Kshatriya dynasties. In the Kshatriya, someone wants to be the king, someone has a natural tendency to rule over other people, to control land, and also to be expert in military warfare. So the question arises here, how is Dronacharya considered a Brahmin and also a Kshatriya? And the answer is that sometimes, say for example, you go to somebody gets a medical degree. They're an MD, a medical doctor. They can use that MD in 4 different ways. They can be a teacher at a medical school, which is a Brahminical type of engagement. Or they could be an administrator at a hospital. That's a Kshatriya type of engagement. Or they can open many, many businesses, or what do you call it, clinics, or hospitals, or so on. And that way somebody could be a Vaishya. They're making money out of it. Or somebody could be a surgeon and just do the work of surgery. Very, very highly skilled, but it's also some kind of a work, so to speak. So somebody could be trained as a lawyer or a doctor, and they could utilize their expertise in different kind of ways. So here also, even though somebody is an expert Kshatriya, a warrior, they may act as a Brahmin and teach other people how to arrange the military phalanx or other aspects of warfare. So this is a consideration that each of us in our lives may have different capacities. Maybe we like money, we like to make money, we like Brahminical activities like pujas and different kind of spiritual discussions. So probably a lot of people are different kind of varnas and ashrams. But at least in the one of the Brahmins must be very truthful. Shamo Damastapak Shotim Shantimarjo Mevacha. If someone must be peaceful, if someone is always angry and disturbed, it's very hard to be a Brahmin. If someone is not truthful and has the habit of telling lies, it's really hard to be a Brahmin. So in this way, some of these aspects are discussed here. I'm going to read the last verse again. It's so nice. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so artfully arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Duryodhana, a great diplomat, wanted to point out the defects of Dronacharya, the great Brahmin commander-in-chief. Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Drupada, the father of Draupadi. Oh, I'm sorry. It's time to stop now. So we'll stop here now. We've already read 3 texts. So thank you very much.